So, you're really coming to our wedding? I'm going to be embarrassed to introduce you as my sister-in-law to my relatives, my brother's fiancée, Lily said with a smirk. I'm Katie, a 37-year-old single woman who dropped out of school years ago, but I'm not ashamed of my choices. In fact, I'm proud because they helped me take care of my family and live a happy life. We grew up poor and without a father. My mom raised me and my younger brother, Georgie, on her own. She worked incredibly hard, but we always struggled to get by. Sometimes relatives would offer to help with money, but my mom always refused, saying, "We'll ask for help only if we're truly desperate." I didn't fully understand it then, but I wished she had accepted the help. Georgie was a bright kid, even topping his class in elementary school. As his proud big sister, I dreamed of him achieving big things. When his teacher recommended him for a prestigious school, we couldn't afford it, so he had to settle for a less impressive one. That's when I made a big decision. I dropped out of school to start working and support my family. Truthfully, I wasn't a fan of studying, so I didn't mind too much. I started at a small office job, which didn't pay much, but when the owner retired, he helped me get a job at a bigger company. I worked hard, and by the time I was 35, I had become a manager earning a solid salary, similar to what a college graduate would make. Meanwhile, Georgie went on to graduate from a top university, and now works at a prestigious company, ABC Trading. I'm so proud of him, but his fiancée, Lily, doesn't seem to like me. Maybe it's my looks, my single eyelid, or serious expression, or the fact that I didn't go to college. From the moment we met, she treated me like a failure. Georgie even told me that she once asked him, "Is your sister some kind of problem person?" Lily, the daughter of a department director at ABC Trading where my brother Georgie works, is beautiful, but she's far from a kind person. When she visited our house, she took one look at our rundown apartment and refused to come in, complaining, "I got all dressed up, and now I'm getting dirty." She even seemed embarrassed that Georgie, her boyfriend, was living in such a place. Using her father's influence, she had Georgie moved into company housing, which he normally wouldn't qualify for. Her excuse, "We'll live there after we get married." The catch was that outsiders, including close relatives, weren't allowed in the housing without special permission. When I joked, "Oh well, I guess I won't be visiting your new home much," Lily's mother coldly replied, "That's exactly why we arranged for them to live there." Lily's behavior didn't stop there. On the day she visited, she whispered something rude to my mom when Georgie couldn't hear. "Since you're poor, Georgie will have to keep paying off his student loans even after we get married. Parents are supposed to pay for their kids' tuition, aren't they?" She glared at my mom. The truth was, my mom and I had saved up for Georgie's college tuition, but he insisted on paying it himself. Still, Lily and her mother looked down on us because of our background. Georgie, however, remained blind to their true nature because they acted sweet and charming around him. Once, Georgie even said, "I wish Mom could move into the company housing too, but Lily says siblings aren't allowed, so my sister will be all alone." Isn't that sad? He saw no issue with Lily's attitude, thinking she and her family were kind and thoughtful. With their wedding just 2 weeks away, Lily contacted me out of the blue. "Are you coming to the wedding?" she asked. "Of course, he's my only brother," I replied. She hesitated, then said, "The venue is really fancy, and we're expecting 150 guests, including executives from ABC Trading and their top clients. It's a high-profile event." It was clear she was worried I'd embarrass her in front of such important people, but I decided to stay quiet. After all, if Georgie and Lily were happy, there was no point in stirring trouble even if Lily and her family had started excluding me and my mom. When Lily asked if I was coming to the wedding, I started to feel uneasy. Then she said, "I think all the guests will feel uncomfortable if there's a poor-looking sister-in-law." "Poor-looking?" I asked, confused. "I plan to wear a proper formal outfit for the wedding." Lily smirked. "Your idea of proper is probably a suit from a catalog that costs about 10,000 yen. Right, it's embarrassing to be surrounded by people wearing high-end brand clothes." She had already judged me as someone unworthy. Then she bluntly added, "To be honest, I don't want you to come to the wedding." Fed up with her attitude, I decided to test her. "What about my mother then? She doesn't own any high-brand clothes either." Lily sighed. "I know that, but I cannot invite her. Georgie's an important member of the company, and I don't want to be embarrassed by shabby-looking relatives. So, we'll prepare something for your mother." I felt hurt by how dismissive she was, but I tried to see it as her being thoughtful. Maybe she just wanted Mom to feel confident at such a big event. However, her next words shocked me. "Of course, you will have to buy the dress. It's an Oscar de la Renta evening gown. So please prepare about $10,000. What? I can't afford that," I exclaimed. "If you can pay, you'll have to. Or do you plan to stand next to my parents in a cheap dress?" I was completely taken aback. "What does Georgie think about this?" I asked. "I haven't told him, of course," she replied casually. "He just assumes you and your mother would attend. But let's be honest, it'll hurt his reputation if his mother is unmarried and his sister is a dropout." I couldn't stand Lily's prejudice and replied firmly, "These days, having a family of single mothers or dropouts doesn't affect someone's career. If you really can't stand the thought of me and Mom at wedding, just don't invite us. But if we're going, we'll prepare our own clothes and won't spend a fortune on them." Afterward, I told Mom everything and asked for her advice. She looked upset at first, but then she smiled and said, "Don't worry, Katie. I promised you I'd make Georgie happy. Leave everything to me." She then made some phone calls, and whatever she was planning seemed to work. On the wedding day, the ceremony in the chapel was beautiful and solemn. I hadn't told Georgie about what Lily said because I trusted Mom to handle it. Still, I noticed Georgie's expression was tense. Was he nervous about the wedding, or had Mom told him something? After the ceremony, we moved to the reception. When I looked at the seating chart, I was stunned. Mom's name was listed in the family section, but my name wasn't there at all. "Wait, there's no seat for me," I said, confused. It hit Matthew were actually trying to exclude me from the reception. Just then, Lily's parents approached me. With disdainful looks, they said, "Didn't you understand when Lily told you not to come to the reception? We had no choice but to let you attend the wedding ceremony." Lily's parents sneered, "But we can't stand you spreading your poverty at the reception. Go home, dropout sister." I clenched my fists, holding back my anger. "Fine, I'll leave," I said, turning away from their smug expressions. Just then, I noticed someone standing nearby. It was Mr. Ashcroft, the CEO of Nikamimi Corporation, the major business partner of Lily's father. Georgie was with him. "Mr. Ashcroft, thank you for coming." Lily's parents greeted him warmly. But when they noticed me, they snapped, "Katie, you're in the way." "Sorry about that, Mr. Ashcroft. We were just getting rid of an unwanted guest." To everyone's shock, Mr. Ashcroft spoke up. "If you insist on kicking Katie out, then I, as her father, will also leave the reception." "Father, what do you mean?" they stammered, frowned in disbelief. Mr. Ashcroft calmly repeated, "Katie is my daughter." Then he explained everything. "Years ago, Mr. Ashcroft and my mother were in a relationship. He was a young executive destined to become CEO, and my mother was a kind-hearted woman who had lost her parents in an accident. But when she became pregnant with me, his family opposed their relationship. At the time, his company, Nikamimi Corporation, was on the brink of bankruptcy, and everyone believed their marriage would make things worse. To protect him and his career, my mother decided to raise me on her own. She told him, "Focus on rebuilding your company. I'll take care of our child. You don't need to acknowledge us, just be happy and succeed." Years later, when my mother was pregnant with Georgie, a woman from a wealthy family offered to help save the company in exchange for marriage. Once again, my mother stepped back, choosing to raise Georgie and me alone. Mr. Ashcroft did marry that woman, successfully turning Nikamimi Corporation into a thriving, listed company, but his marriage wasn't happy, and they divorced after a year due to his wife's infidelity. He had no other children and had been longing to reconnect with us. Before Georgie's wedding, I had a surprising reunion with President Ashcroft, my father. As soon as I saw him, I realized he was the uncle who had visited our apartment a few times during my childhood, offering my mother money. It turned out he wasn't just any uncle, he was President Ashcroft, head of Nickamimi Corporation. When he noticed me staring, he smiled kindly and said, "You've been through so much. Your mother told me about the wedding." Then he shared his thoughts. As Georgie's business partner, President Ashcroft admired his abilities and was even considering him as a future leader of Nickamimi Corporation. However, he had concerns. If Georgie can see through malicious people and disrespects his own mother and sister, I can entrust the company to him. To test Georgie's character, President Ashcroft decided to observe how he handled the situation surrounding the wedding. The day before the wedding, he and my mother revealed the truth to Georgie that President Ashcroft was his father, and that Lily's family was trying to exclude us. Georgie, who had trusted Lily and her parents completely, was overwhelmed by the revelations. He entered the wedding ceremony full of doubt, which explained his stiff demeanor. The final straw came at the reception, when Georgie noticed my name missing from the seating chart and saw Lily's parents trying to send me away. Realizing everything my mother and I had told him was true, Georgie confronted Lily at a reception desk. With a firm voice, he declared, "Lily, Mr. and Mrs. Lily, I'm annulling this marriage. I refuse to become part of a family that disrespects and belittles my mother and sister." Lily and her parents were stunned. "Wait, you can just say that out of nowhere," they protested. "It's a misunderstanding, and we've already had the ceremony." Still in denial, Lily made a shocking statement, unaware of the storm she was about to unleash. "Ah, Georgie, are you really choosing that low-life mother and daughter over me? You should know your place," Lily blurted out angrily. Her parents, now pale and panicked, tried to stop her, but it was too late. Everyone heard her cruel words. When I calmly explained the situation to Lily in detail, she broke down, collapsing into tears on the spot. President Ashcroft, standing nearby, added firmly, "I guess we'll have to reconsider doing business with your company." Hearing this, Lily's parents panicked further and began apologizing profusely. However, the damage was done. Everyone at the reception had witnessed the drama, and the event was cancelled. Georgie cut all ties with Lily and never submitted the marriage registration. Later, I received a furious phone call from Lily. She screamed, "You're the reason I couldn't marry Georgie. I'll be billing you for compensation and the venue cancellation fees." Calmly, I replied, "Oh, really? Then I'll sue you for defamation." Everyone at the reception heard your abusive language and that of your parents. She went silent. I continued, "Also, your father has already been removed from handling transactions with Nickamimi Corporation. He's been demoted and sidelined. If I told President Ashcroft about how I was threatened by you, the company might stop doing business with ABC Trading completely. Do you think your father's job could survive that?" Lily, now crying uncontrollably, had nothing left to say. I hung up, feeling a sense of justice. As for Georgie, after canceling his engagement, he transferred to Nickamimi Corporation, where he's now working hard to become our father's right-hand man. On a brighter note, my mother and father are finally getting married. Though she was shy about having a wedding in her 60s, she looked so happy when we went dress shopping together. Looking at her joy, I've started to think maybe one day I'd like to wear my mother's wedding dress at my own wedding.